We have, just so that you, in case this is the first time of even looking at the EA, I want to give you some of the background about the exam, only for a few minutes, because you can go to the website and read all of this. But basically, the special enrollment exam is made up of 3 parts. The first part deals with individuals, and what we've heard from the IRS and Prometrics is that a large number of candidates are sitting for this from their diagnostics, and the passing rate is very, very promising. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of candidates that have sat and passed for the exam. In fact, we have seen, overwhelming success of those candidates who have sat and passed. There's also part 2 on businesses, and businesses is not, I'm only covering in this segment on part 1, the individual part, but businesses is the most comprehensive package we have seen. It covers nearly 20 chapters of material, covering everything from sole proprietorships, partnerships, S corporations, regular corporations, lots of stuff inside this chapter. And what we've heard from candidates is a rigorous workout, because most of our experience tends to be in individual tax, not in some of these special business entities. And once you're in the business entities, there's a lot of unusual tax laws in there that you really don't see much in an entity's life. And the third part, which is representation, practice, and procedure, is the area that I actually love the most. It's one of the areas that I teach every summer at the college, and I enjoy reading about the IRS procedures. I enjoy about issues ranging from collections to audits to research. All of those components are inside of it. It's also, when we look at the sequencing of people sitting for this exam, we oftentimes see them take part 1 first, then they go to part 3 because it's a more succinct area, and then they go back to part 2. So it might be a game plan that you want to put into consideration. Let me talk a little bit about the exam as a whole. From an overview standpoint, it's a 3.5-hour exam. Our experience has been, as we've talked to candidates, is that they don't need 3.5 hours. They're oftentimes done in about 2.5 hours, but it gives you a large opportunity to walk through this exam. There are 100 questions per part, and that's for all 3 parts. So when you're getting there, get used to walking through on a computer screen 100 questions being flashed at you and answering. We also have software that goes along with the course that you can order that will replicate what that feeling is like, broken down into the various parts of the exam as far as the content goes. There are basically 3 different types of multiple choice format questions. I'm going to show you an example of each one in just a minute. One of them is referred to as a direct question. The second one's called an incomplete sentence, so you're going to be completing the sentence. And the third one is all of the following except. So that this type of a format is the way that you can expect to see the questions on the exam. There are no more true-false questions. What I will let you know is that when we do the course, we'll include some true-false questions, because the content of that which we're trying to communicate has been done well on past exams in a true-false format. And so we're going to use that, again, not because you're going to see true-false, but because the content of the question is an important one to see. All of the questions on the exam have equal value, so that they're not weighted. The old exam had weights for true false versus multiple choice, and if they were computational multiple choice, they had more. They don't. They're all carrying the same amount of weight. And the passing score is 105 out of a scale of 40 to 130. I want to show you something from the Prometrics website, the group that offers the exam, to show you what this means. Because a lot of people say, what do I need to pass on this thing? And I'll read to you what is on. It says, understanding the special enrollment exam score report. Your score is based upon the total number of questions you answered correctly. The number correct is mathematically transformed into a standardized scale score. The scale ranges from 40 to 130 with the passing set at 105. So that's kind of easy. So you start figuring out, all right, what does that actually equal? But then it says scaled scores are used to permit comparable reporting of the various versions of each part of the exam. Note that the scale is not based on an exact transformation of the number of questions in the test, nor does it represent a percentage correct. So basically what they're saying is that when you sit for the exam and you get a score, we're saying that the passing score is 105 out of that, but we're not saying it's 105 points. We're saying it's something when we took a look at it. Now, the thing that they said in here is that when you sit for the exam, and this is kind of an important part, it is not a uniform exam. The examiners have put together a bank of questions that are more than 100. And when you go to sit for the exam, what they're going to do is they're going to be giving you a pool of they're going to select from a pool of questions your 100. Someone else taking the exam may be right beside you, or maybe in another state, or another time, is going to, from that pool of questions, get a different set of 100 questions. And so what happens is they begin grading this pool of questions. They then begin putting all of this together to say, all right, from that sample of questions that we gave out, and again, different people have different exams that they're taking, we're then going to determine what the passing score is.